Good evening. Welcome to the March 7th, 2025 meeting of the Marshfield Planning Board. The time is 7:02 p.m. Tonight's meeting is being recorded by MCTV, and we are holding a live remote meeting via Zoom. Our members here tonight are Katie O'Donnell, Fred Monaco, Mike Viviano, Kevin Cantwell, and our associate member, Scott DeCastro, are missing, along with Nick Papastratus. Also with us tonight is Greg Guimont, our town planner, and Karen Horn, our assistant town planner. At this time, I'll make a motion to open tonight's meeting and waive the reading of the public notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you, Fred.
Fred Monaco, aye.
Thank you. And Mike Viviano, aye. All right, so the meeting's open. Looks like first on the agenda tonight is the open space presentation.
Yep.
Okay. Who's doing that?
Okay, right here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, so I'm Susan Karen. I'm the chair of the Marshfield Open Space Committee, as many of you know. And first of all, I'd just like to thank you for having us tonight and taking the time to let us give you a brief summary of our open space plan. And to those of you who have spent some time going over it, I know it's a fairly lengthy document. We appreciate your time and interest. So I also would like to thank Karen and Greg for their assistance and diligence in helping with putting together the data. They helped Krista a lot to help update the plan, which is an essential collaboration. Our goal in presenting this to you and in writing this plan is to ensure that our goals and objectives stated in this plan support and align with yours. And so we're here to help all of the town boards and committees achieve their goals. And so we want to be sure that you understand that that's our main objective. So with that, I'll hand over the presentation to Krista, who is our consultant who has created the document and helped write this and inform the whole process. So Krista is from Horsley and Witten. So with that, take it over to Krista.
Hey, hi, Krista.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Chairman. So I will, as Susan said, we have a short presentation. And Greg, I just didn't quite get, oh, there we go. Okay, let me arrange my windows. There we go. So just going to offer a brief overview of the town's draft open space and recreation plan. Just to highlight some of the open space and recreational assets of the town, talk about the findings of our needs analysis, and give an overview of the goals and the action plan. We'll answer any questions. And our objective tonight is to request a letter of support from the planning board. So the Massachusetts Division of Conservation Services is the agency that sort of oversees these plans and approves them. And one of the requirements is to get letters of support from the planning board, the select board, and the regional planning agency, which is the Metropolitan Area Planning Council for Marshfield, and any other letters the town wishes to pursue. We've met with the select board, the Conservation Commission, and so now we're before you. And I just first wanted to touch on, so open space can mean different things in different contexts, different plans, regulations, and whatnot. So just to remind ourselves, so when we talk about open space in the OSRP, the Open Space and Recreation Plan, we're talking about undeveloped land that is either publicly or privately owned, that has important ecological functions, natural resources, and the like, that is worthy of conservation and protection, or has recreational value. Some examples are forests and floodplains and wetlands. When we talk about recreation, I think that's a little more intuitive, though, and we're talking about outdoor recreation. So our playgrounds, ball fields, play courts, bikeways, all those types of resources. The town has a plan because it's important to ensure that you're maintaining the benefits that all of these resources provide for residents. They have environmental benefits, social benefits. They're places where we gather As a community, they also have economic benefits. This plan helps guide decisions around protecting these resources and planning for them in the future. It also keeps the town eligible for funding. So GCS requires an approved OSRP for its different types of grant programs. So ensuring that the town remains eligible, you continue to update this plan. There are required sections in the plan, which I'm not going to go through tonight, but generally there's a community snapshot that talks about, who lives in Marshfield, the types of infrastructure that's here, its roads, its water systems, and the like. There are inventories of the different environmental resources. Obviously, it's open space and recreational resources. We do a needs analysis. There's a goal, vision, objectives to meet those needs. And then there is a 7-year action plan. And this action plan identifies responsible parties. It sets a time frame for implementation in that 7-year window, and it also identifies a potential funding source should one be needed. As part of this, we also do an ADA self-evaluation of properties under the jurisdiction of the Recreation Department, and the Conservation Commission. So our open space and recreational resource inventory. So as I said, we look at all resources regardless of ownership. So town resources, those under the jurisdiction of nonprofits, that are owned by the Commonwealth, and private entities, primarily those that are participating in the Chapter 61 program and conservation restrictions. This is just a very it's small for you all, but when you look at the plan, this is from the plan itself, just to give a sense of the distribution of resources throughout town. So there's a lot of opportunities and just assets that the town has that this plan takes interest in. So when we did our needs analysis, we took that information from different avenues. We did a community survey, and late in the fall of 2023, we had an open house the following year that we presented our action plan. We worked with the Open Space Committee. So with Susan and her committee, we interviewed town staff. So as she mentioned, the planning department's help in putting this document together. And the town, this is not the only plan and study or what have you that the town uses to plan for these resources. There's a list here of all of the other documents that we integrated. We want to make sure that we're consistent, that we're building on the findings, and we're moving forward with some consistency. So all of these other plans were also integrated and sort of informed this plan. So I'm just going to highlight some key needs that we documented in this plan. So they're organized around 3 major bins. So there's resource protection needs, there are community needs, and then there's management needs, which are focused on the town's needs to maintain and operate its resources. So around resource protection needs, climate resiliency was a theme, recognizing the importance of natural areas and building resilience to the changes that are anticipated, protecting the shoreline from erosion, sedimentation, flooding, the importance of the town's public trees and its upland areas and protecting them, the North and South rivers and the associated wetlands, balancing recreational uses with their protection to ensure that they are sustained. And always a priority is protecting the town's aquifer and minimizing pollutants, and the need to help educate about how to do that. For community needs, walking and biking connections, we heard that from a lot of the public input. So ensuring that those connections exist between resources and that they're safe. Accommodating, so specific to recreational needs, just ensuring there's a high demand for athletic fields. So just trying to accommodate those needs with the town's existing resources, and just being mindful of the growing interest in diversity of sports, and just understanding those needs that continue to evolve. increasing awareness of open space and conservation areas in town, of just the public in general, and finding opportunities to accommodate more diverse users. Accessibility and inclusiveness is always a need. Like I said, we had done the ADA self-evaluation, so ensuring that places are accessible for people with disabilities, but just also ensuring that you maintain the geographic distribution so neighborhoods all have access to different types of opportunities. Management needs are last bin. So managing in for conservation land, building capacity to maintain these properties and developing an inventory of all those resources and what their needs are to better focus and prioritize resources. For the recreational department, continuing to build staff and budget to meet the growing demands of that department. And then land acquisition and protection. So ensuring that all the decision-making bodies of the town understand the importance of resource protection and ensuring that moving together in a common objectives, and also working with the local nonprofits to help support the land acquisition protection and all of those activities. There are 5 goals and associated objectives. I'm not going to walk through each of those in detail. So for each of these goals, I'm just going to highlight some of the actions that fall under them in the action plan, and those where we have highlighted the planning board to help implement them. I'll touch on those. And with that, there are many players that need to help sort of move this plan forward. There are those that have key roles, those that have supporting roles. There are also community and regional partners that help implement the action plan. So this is just a list of all of those players. So our first goal is protecting the town's drinking water. For the role of the planning board, just supporting the acquisition and otherwise protecting of land within the Water Resource Protection District, and encouraging land development that minimizes impacts on the town's aquifers. Other actions here are related to enforcing stormwater best management practices to reduce pollutants in the district, and just ensuring monitoring lands that would be prioritized for protection in the district as well. Our second goal is about expanding and connecting existing preserved land to enhance species and wildlife habitats and to preserve important scenic vistas. For the planning board, we're looking for you to continue to help us restrict development adherence to, so WPA is our Wetlands Protection Act, but also the Water Resource Protection District bylaws, and to increase public education, about wetlands protection and the importance of it. Other key actions under this goal is just ensuring to identify key parcels that are important to prioritize for habitat protection, and just really preparing for sea level rise as it will potentially impact habitat or private property or town infrastructure. Goal number 3 focuses on recreational opportunities. No specific tasks for the planning board, but this goal focuses on just continued stewardship for those properties that are heavily used to ensure that they're safe, continuing to support the rail trail and the Brindle Path as a multi-use path, and just exploring and prioritizing acquisitions and easements for river access. People were looking more opportunities to reach the river for recreational opportunities there. Our fourth goal is is collaboration among the community, the town boards, and local groups to improve open space and recreation. The town has a trail management plan that it continues to implement, monitoring a listing of open spaces, ensuring that there's information on the website for people to understand what's at these places and use them, and continue to publicize improvements that are happening on trails and at recreational facilities. Our last goal is to improve stewardship of the town's conservation land and high priority natural resource areas. So this was a need to ensure that these places are managed So some of the actions around this are just establishing an approach to ensuring that properties can be managed. Volunteers are a big source of resources to help maintain them, but ensuring that roles and responsibilities are clearly outlined, seeking a budget to manage conservation areas, ensuring that you're documenting, they want to document existing conditions to understand what is in these places and to help understand needs, and then identifying partnerships to help support actions that come in out of those analyses. And with that, that is very quick and it was very high level, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, the only, Mike, it's Kevin. The
Oh, hi,
only
Kevin.
question, it's not a question, it's a comment. When you had a list of task holders, I didn't see, maybe I missed it, the Community Preservation Committee on there, Krista. I'm on, so that should be listed. I mean, if you can list the Community Preservation Committee.
I will
CPC.
definitely check that. And
I mean, we're an offshoot of, with open space, recreation and stuff, but we do have a role with,
absolutely.
I'd like to add, that's a good point, because we couldn't do anything without CBC.
Right.
We
I don't want to say that, but
I will say the CPA and CBC are listed as potential funding sources for different actions within the details of the plan itself. So, but I totally agree, and that group should be added to this list.
that's fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Katie, do you have something?
Sorry, my dog has something to say. That's why I muted myself. I didn't really have any questions at this time. I think that this is it's a huge project that has to be undertaken every few years. And so I certainly thank Susan and Open Space and everyone who works together to work on this. And I think it's important to note that, having a plan in place is so important, because open space, especially when it comes to like acquisitions and things, you can't really predict what will come up at any given time. So having a plan in place so that you're ready to move when opportunities present themselves, I think is really important for the town. Right. And so I'm glad that this work is being done. So.
Okay, thanks, Katie.
Could I add one thing, if there's?
Sure, absolutely.
I just wanted to point out that this still is in a draft form, and we're still in a stage making minor edits to it. And there's one thing that I wanted to point out that's not in the plan that you've seen, is we are adding a reference to the age and dementia friendly action plan. And we've been talking with, because we think that's really important in terms of our collaboration and also meeting the needs of seniors. And so that we have taken some things from that plan and put them in ours, and the age and dementia friendly action plan also has quoted from our plan too, so that we have to all be on the same page and meeting each other's goals. So I thought that was important for you to know, because I know planning was involved in the development of that really nice plan as well. So and the other thing I just wanted to point out is the goal number 5, stewardship, is a new goal for us. The first 4 have remained pretty consistent throughout. This is the 4th open space plan that we've done since 2004, and pretty much our goals have stayed the same. But the actions change throughout that over time based on what we need to do. But stewardship is something we haven't really addressed, and it's a really big issue, and it's a long-term project. I mean, that's going to require funding and a real change of thinking. We have realized that with climate change, we can't just own land. We have to really be proactive in making sure that our forests are healthy and resilient. They're under a lot more threats, and more storms are worse now. Temperatures swing widely, and so they're much more the typical things that we're used to seeing are invasive species and pests and infestations, and those are all exacerbated by climate change. So we would like to start slowly building a culture of stewardship and trying to find ways to build capacity to pay for that, and We're identifying grants and collaborating with the state. So that's a long-term goal, and I just wanted to point that out because it's a change from all the other plans we've done.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Greg, any comments?
We'll prepare a letter of support for the next board meeting, which will be on April 14th. So we can, that's okay, Susan, time-wise?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, is there anyone from the public on this? Okay, seeing none, I thank you, and we'll move on. Thanks for the time.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Have a great.
All right, looks like we're moving on to our public hearings. What are we doing about John Sherman? Are we doing that tonight?
Yep. I don't think we're wrapping it up, but we're getting another step closer.
Okay, I want to make a motion that we open the continued public hearing for John Sherman Estates. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thank you, Fred
Fred Monaco, aye.
and Kevin.
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, looks like we have Paul Driscoll here for this.
Yes, I'm here.
And John Larkin.
And John Larkin. Okay, great. What's the update, guys?
John, do you want to start?
Yes, so we have what I believe is the finalized A&R plan, which was submitted to Greg, which he has here brought up. We have signed the PNS. Once we got this, we're able to draft off the PNS. We sent that over to the Romero family, and they are just waiting to do the final review with their attorney, and they were trying to get it back to us today, but latest first thing tomorrow with a closing date of next Monday on the property.
Okay, great.
So the A&R is a land swap parcel A, which is that purple. Unfortunately, for some reason, our scanner never gets the colors right. 3,470 square feet would be turned over from the open space land currently under Paul Driscoll as the homeowners association and applicant, would be turned over to the Larkins to take care of the where they have the fence and the shed and stuff. Parcel B is coming from the next door neighbor, which is actually a little more land than what we're giving up for open space. And that would be sold to the Larkins, who would then turn over parcel B to Driscoll and the homeowners association, which would make the open space requirement, it would now meet the open space requirement, and then we can wrap up the subdivision, because that was the last remaining, I should say, the special permit for the open space. That was the last remaining item on that. I think we're almost, we may have one thing left on the subdivision. I just have to check with Pat Brennan on that. So the process would basically be, once these two parcels are turned over to the proper things, then the planning board, I have a draft decision that we'll need to fine tune a little, but it talks about the open space being modified to address the encroachment area and proceeding on with wrapping up with that special permit. So John, it sounds like the 14th you'd be ready. I don't know if we should try, I think we should probably, the next planning board meeting would be the 19th of May, unless the board wanted to have a special meeting on the 12th.
I think the 19th is fine.
All right. Paul, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, I do. I have questions. The questions are the sequencing of things. My understanding and assumption has always been that the first thing that would happen is that I would convey the open space parcels to the town as shown on the approved subdivision plan. After that was done, in terms of these individual swaps based on a plan I'm looking at now, I wouldn't be involved, because the town would be the owner of the open space as shown on the plan, and therefore the grantor in any deeds. I have, if I am incorrect on that, then I would have an objection to it, because all I want to be involved in is the conveyance of the open space to the town. After that, what the town does with Mr. Larkin or anybody else is really none of my concern. And I don't know if Bob Galvin has seen this plan. I don't know if Bob Galvin has seen any proposed deeds. I don't know if any of this is run by him. And if there's any deeds that are being made reference to here that are to come from me, I haven't seen those either. So I have more questions than I have answers.
So Bob Galvin has seen this. Bob Galvin agrees with the A&R plan as approved. Bob Galvin's recommendation is to follow the process that I had mentioned.
Which was what, if you would repeat?
So we are doing the land swaps before we close up the special permit.
Yeah, but that's not my.
Closes up the open space problem.
I think he's asking Greg, he wants to make sure none of the deeds are going in his name first.
That's right.
I believe they are, and I think Paul would need to have a discussion with Bob Galvin on that matter.
Yeah, look.
That's what Bob Galvin basically said, here's what you should be doing.
Well, I haven't talked to Bob about that. As far as I'm concerned, I have no involvement with Larkin. I have no involvement with remedial efforts to resolve the encroachment that he made. I have none of that. I have an obligation to convey the open space to the town. After I convey it to the town simply, then being the owner of the open space parcels, goes ahead and makes whatever land swap they want to do with Larkin. I'm not involved with that. I haven't been consulted about that. I haven't seen any deeds. So I am in Florida right now. I will be back the middle of next week. And the first thing I'll do is I'll meet with you, Greg, and if I can, and I'll meet with Bob Galvin.
I would have the discussion with Bob, period.
I'm sorry?
I would have the discussion with Bob. That's what you should be talking with.
That's right. That's fine. I'll do that. But Mr. Larkin talks about deeds being conveyed on Monday. I don't know if what he's including there with respect to me.
He is buying his abutter's parcel, and then we would be swapping parcel A for the open space.
No, I know, but the question is when.
So, Paul,
yeah,
I have been talking to you about this all along, and you were aware this is what we're working on. And you are the applicant, and you are the homeowners association. So at the moment, you are involved. And that's why
I'm certainly involved.
Have that discussion with Mr. Galvin.
Well, I will. I'd be glad to.
Okay.
But I know Mr. Larkin talks about conveyancing being made on Monday. And if that conveyancing involves a deed to signed by me, I'm just giving you notice that that's not going to happen until I talk to Mr. Galvin.
Yeah, that sounds fine, Paul. I think you should, talk to Bob when you're back. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything from the board?
Nope.
Okay. Seeing none, I'm gonna continue this until what was it? 5:19? You said?
Yep. 5:19.
5:19. 25 at 7:05. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thanks, Katie. Fred
Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, maybe we can wrap something up on the 19th. All right, let's see. Moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a
Marshfield Hills Estates public hearing. The applicant is asked to continue that until our next meeting, which is next Monday night, April 14th. They are still with the Zoning Board of Appeals for their variance and their 2 special permits that are required.
Okay, so if anyone's here from Marshfield Hills Estate, that's the subdivision off of 3A. We are going to continue that in just a minute until May 19th, 2025 at 7:05. So I'll make a motion at this time that we continue that hearing until May 19th, 2025 at
It's
7:05.
it's next week for Marshfield Hills Estates.
It is?
Yeah, that's what Greg just said.
That's what they've
Marshfield.
asked to continue to for Marshfield Hills Estates. They may not even be able to talk about it then, but they've asked to have it pushed back to the 14th for the moment.
Okay. That's fine. So I'll take back the previous motion. I'll make a new motion to continue that public hearing until April 14th, 2025 at 7:05. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Nick? Nick's not here. Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay. Did we skip one, Greg? Looks like there's a public hearing for the
We got
street improvement.
Lynn's in Essex,
Okay.
street improvement with Dana.
Okay. I'm going to open the continued public hearing for the street improvement on Lynn and Essex Road. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, Dana, how we doing?
Good. I think there was two outstanding issues, if I'm not mistaken, one of which was cleaning the basins down at the intersection of California and Waltham.
How'd those look?
What's that?
How'd they look?
Oh, so I went there today and it looks like DPW cleaned them out. I sent a picture of each of the four of them, and they used to be chock full and even covered over with sediment. And now they're all cleared out and you can see the water inside them instead of dirt. So it looks like that issue is hopefully put to bed, that they have been cleaned out. And the second issue, I believe, was connecting the existing services on Lynn Street to the new water line that I'm going to put in. And I spoke one night, I emailed with Paul Duros at Water Department, DPW, and he offered in writing to, and I forwarded the email to Greg, that he said if I do the laterals from the new main on Lynn Street, and so in other words, tap the new main that I'm going to put in, tap the main and bring a lateral over to the property line for each of the three residences, then he will send someone down and he will hook them up. So that way I'm not messing with someone's water and on someone's personal property. I'm going to stay in the street and just bring the services to the property line, and then he'll do the rest.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
All right, welcome.
Greg, does that answer all the previous questions we had?
Hold on one second. So we had mentioned the last time that the water, once it gets past California Street, runs on the surface till it hits some catch basins down on Ferry Street. Then it goes under Ferry Street and it goes into the detention basin on the far side that used to be the Armstrong parcel. We have never heard anything from the abutters right here at the corner of Lynn Street and Essex Street, or is it Road? Essex Road. I believe that Dana and the abutter on this corner property have resolved their concerns. He is not touching their fence and stuff with the construction. His Cape Cod berm will be a few inches off of that property line. Or I should say property line, where the fence is. The fence is on the right of way. And so is the stone wall and fence on this other property. Karen, was there anything else we had? Okay, so we can prepare a decision for your next meeting if you want, and we can wrap this one up, I believe.
Okay, any questions from the board at this time?
Something.
Anyone here from the public?
Hi, I have a quick question. I'm sorry.
Okay, just name and address if you could, please.
Sure. My name is Mary Murphy, and I'm at 252 Ocean Street down here in Brant Rock. And I
Okay.
apologize because I came like 7 minutes late to this meeting. So I was just curious, did the planning board make a decision on the upcoming town meeting and Brant.
So hey, Mary, let me interrupt you. So we're on this one particular public
Oh,
meeting right now,
I apologize.
and let us finish that, and then we're going to get down to that.
Okay,
And
cool.
Mary, they have not talked about the other agenda item yet.
Okay. No worries. No
Okay,
worries.
thank you.
And then I don't know, and this is completely an aside, but it was
Okay, wait, Mary, not yet. We're going to finish this one.
okay.
We'll
Got
give
it.
you all the time you need in a minute.
No worries. Cool.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Yep. Right. So no one for the public on this particular meeting.
Oh, yes, Richard
Okay.
Zacchini,
Yep.
39 Lynn Street. I was just curious about the outcome of the last basin on the end of Lynn Street. What was decided on that? How he's going to accomplish that?
You pull the plan back up.
Right.
Greg?
Am I supposed to do that? I don't know.
Oh,
Dana?
Greg can pull it up. Kenny, were you sharing the screen before? I'm not sure who it was.
Oh,
Greg.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it wasn't shared. I was zooming in on it. There we go.
Kenny, can you bring us through that basin?
Sure. There's two basins at the end of the street improvement.
Yes, the one at the very bottom there. I don't know the number of it.
Yeah, CB5 and CB6, they're in red dots.
Okay.
And they collect from the high point down Lynn Street, and they collect that water, and it goes underground into, I think, 10 or 11 LC6 chambers under the right-of-way. And we had discussed that it looks like it interrupts the end of his paved driveway a little bit, so I'm just going to shift it over a little bit on site.
Okay. Well,
just the end
it's, that right where that thing is, I have cars parked there, and I go in and out from my property. I just don't know how you're going to accomplish it without the street. I don't know if anyone's gone down and measured it, but it's not very wide.
Well, I'll have to make a lane for you because there's 40 feet of right of way. So there has to be at least 10 feet of that right of way on one side or the other. I'll have to make it so that if I'm interrupting you, you can go around me. It should be 1 day.
I think you think I'm sorry, I should ask for your name and address, the public speaker.
Oh, Richard Zacchini, 39 Lynn Street.
Okay, thank you. So do you think that this drainage is on top of the road because it's in the ground?
I don't know. It's hard to figure out where that is in comparison to my property, but like I said, the previous owner paved up to a certain point. I don't know what the markings are by this, where exactly that it's going to be.
Do you see the little hand moving?
Yes.
That's where the pavement for your driveway ends, right here.
Oh, that's indicated there?
Yep, it says paved underneath it.
Okay. But if you look at the width there, it's not, he says 40 feet. It's lucky if it's 10 feet.
40 feet is the right of way. So see the two purple lines?
Yes.
That's your 40 feet or within that right of way.
Well, it's not 40 feet there now.
The 40 feet exists, the right of way. It is not cut and it's not paved in most of that, but the right of way exists. Dana's doing work 20 feet of pavement in between pretty much the center line, unless he's trying to shift it one way or another to avoid something. Correct, Dana?
Yes.
Oh, so yeah, it's going to have to remove a lot of material at either side of the road. That's what you're saying, to make this 40 feet.
No.
So they are not clearing all the way to the 40 feet. If you see the purple lines on the plan, that's 40 feet right away on the plan. If you look at where the red is where that road will be. That's 20 feet wide.
Okay.
They're not touching anything outside of that, except for things that spill over.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at it, my point of view, and what I know it's there. You guys are just looking at a plan, so it's difficult to
I think what it is
to
that
express what you want to do and how it's going to be accomplished.
Right. I think that the divide here, the communication divide is I'm allowed to work within the 40 feet of the right of way.
Okay.
So if I'm in the very middle with the work that I'm doing that day, I can shift that over a little bit, that work. And what I'll need to do is make a path that is not currently there around my work so that you can get in and out.
Okay.
I
Well,
have
to the left where your little hand is, there's a big, it's like almost a hill that goes up. I'm just trying to picture how it's going to happen in my mind's eye. Because,
I'll have
me
to
and my wife have to get in and out all day. And like I said, I
Yeah.
have my father-in-law who's in and out all day. And
Yep. And
so
I can be mindful of that. I have to keep all of this open, at least one lane for emergency vehicles anyway, for police and fire, so they can get to any house at any time.
okay.
So, which includes yours. So I have to keep one lane open one way or another. And if there's not
Okay.
enough room within
Well,
that,
you're gonna have to
40
make
feet,
room. It's
then I have to,
barely a lane now.
then I have to make it.
Okay. All right.
Mike,
So
Carlson has raised a hand.
Okay, are you all set with your other questions?
Yes, I'm all set.
No?
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
thank you.
Carlson, name and address, please. You're on mute still, can't hear you. Hey, Carlson, you have your hand up. I don't know if you're looking to speak on this or not, but if you are, please unmute and let us know. Okay, great, we'll just keep moving on. Any other questions from the public or from the board? Okay, are we closing this, Greg, or are we continuing it?
I was thinking we were closing it. I was writing a decision and the board could vote at the next meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. So, thank you, Dana. I'm gonna make a motion that we close this public hearing. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin?
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
Oh,
Hang on a
was that
second.
Carlson?
Okay. They said something. I'm sorry. We did Katie, we got Fred, Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay. Let's see, moving on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Let's see, that's all the public hearings, right, Greg? I'm trying to see it on my
Yep,
phone.
we're out of the public hearings. We're now on to actions.
Thanks. Have a
Okay.
good night.
Thank you. Are there any minutes to go over?
I believe you have 2 sets of minutes. Did I not email them to you?
I thought you sent them out.
I did too.
If you did, just let me know the
It's-
dates.
It's 310 and 324.
Yeah, I got them, Greg.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of 3:10:25 and 3:24:25. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Thanks, Fred.
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Looks like we're gonna move on to the discussion for the BRVO parking. For the annual town meeting, Article 11. I'll let Greg explain it.
So after the public hearing for the zoning changes, there had been some discussion. The planning board has voted not to recommend the zoning as written because the planning board was not in favor of reducing the 1.25 spaces per bedroom to 1. The board seemed to not have as much problems with the striking of the second sentence. Hold on one second, and I will share the screen. All right, so you see the screen. So they are talking, apparently, the proponents of the zoning article, the petition article, had talked to Bob Galvin and have prepared a floor amendment to strike the change to the 1.25 and leave it alone. But they're still looking for the striking of that last sentence. It is required that residential parking be located above the base flood elevation. And some of the board discussion was some confusion about trying to do a conditional amendment but the sense was that the planning board didn't have a strong negative sense about that particular thing. Bob Galvin has talked to them, then Bob Galvin sent me an email that said the board can do a conditional vote if you so choose. So the board would be prepared at town meeting if they do in fact put in their floor amendment to leave the 1.25. If the planning board wants to have a conditional vote, that it would issue a favorable recommendation for the second half of their change that they were requesting, which was the residential parking be located above the base flood elevation.
And I really hope the board allows public comment.
Excuse me, Mary, you can't just jump in.
Okay, sorry.
You're listening to Greg and you're interrupting. We'll get you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what I put on the agenda to give the board the opportunity tonight if they wanted to discuss this and if they wanted to have a conditional vote available for town meeting. If a floor amendment comes in from the private petitioner, that leaves the 1.25 number alone. I'm all set, Mike. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Any comments from the board before we go to the public? Okay, seeing none, Mary, your turn. Name and address, please.
All right, I am so sorry.
That's all right.
Interrupted a few times in this meeting. I really want to apologize. I do.
Okay.
I really respect you and your opinion. So, my name's Mary Murphy. I'm at 252 Ocean Street. I pay taxes for 252 and 254 Ocean Street down here in lovely Brant Rock. I went to the family's meeting over the weekend. And I was kind of surprised to hear that there's going to be 30, not more than 30 units. Actually, it's going to be 87 units plus businesses and parking. And this meeting is not obviously planning to talk about that because we were told as residents in that meeting by paid employees that the requirements and the density really doesn't matter, and that was determined by the state of Massachusetts as it relates to going back to 3-deckers in a condensed zone. So I get that. So really today we're talking about parking and can they go from 1.25 to 1? And I guess the owners pulled that back, right? Whereas we all know, and from a planning perspective, it's not 1.25 in this area, it's 1.5 in other parts of Marshfield. And recently, the select board just allowed the jetty to remove their parking and only allow handicap in this small density area. So, I'm thinking about the planning board and your decision and your outlook and how you feel about this in this small little area that now has this roundabout that helps with traffic, no doubt. Truthfully, no doubt it does. However, from our perspective on my side of the road, it would have been really nice to have sidewalks. For all those people that like to walk along the sidewalk, on the beach side, not on the opposite side of the street, which the DPW likes to talk about because that provides their requirement of one sidewalk per area. But again, we're going back to parking. And the limited amount of parking, and I think that roundabout actually took away parking, which I think the intent initially was to provide more. I don't know. Scratching my head trying to figure that out. Again, as a 30+ year resident in an area that floods, okay? And I can tell you, we have a lot of commercial and residential vehicles that need to be moved when it floods. And oh, by the way, it floods. And my husband, I think you might know him, Eric Murphy, manages the Marshfield Forum, but not only that, he trends on Twitter, and we're talking nationally trending on Twitter. We're not talking locally or, you know, South Shore or Massachusetts. We're talking national trending on Twitter for when it floods down here because the news comes to Brant Rock. So if my house was to, God forbid, you know, float away, which it could potentially happen. I mean, I think it was built in like the late 1800s and it's on cedar pylons. I would expect the town, the state of Massachusetts, the United States of America, really, to think about the flooding situation and think about at least, and it doesn't have to be like, you know, it doesn't have to be the current parking structure, but there should be some thought given from a planning perspective as it relates to flooding in a known flooding elevation. Like I think we had our flooding
So
figured
Mary, one
out,
thing,
and we're only like 7 feet above flood elevation. And I'd say that they're less because they're in
Mary,
a basin.
let me get a quick word in here just so you know where we're coming from on this.
Yeah.
We originally wrote this with thinking about flooding in mind.
Okay.
We are not the ones proposing to change it. The owners of the property are the ones
No,
trying
no, no. I totally get that. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to persuade you to think about your decision as a board and think about, you know, how much Brant Rock is on the news, how much it floods. It doesn't even have to be high tide. It could be like some
We all
sort of
live there.
full
We know it
moon.
very, very well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like you're setting the precedence as it relates to a seaside town in New England. And whether you vote yay or nay or whatever, I think your voice, you know, could potentially have some sort of news or newsworthiness, whether it go one way or the other. And that's all I'm saying, Mike. And I'm a neighbor. I know I think that the owners across the street say it's going to be very cost prohibitive for other people, but I think a lot of our neighbors would agree it would be really cool to have at least one elevated spot per lot. That's it.
Well, it's actually it'd be one elevated spot per bedroom.
Or bedroom. Well, this in this zoning is per bedroom, and they're asking to strike it completely.
Yeah,
I'm
this
just
doesn't have to do
suggesting,
with anything else.
I'm suggesting as a homeowner that lives across the street that owns two lots, that maybe instead of that, it's just elevated, you know, again, 14 feet or whatever it might be,
Well,
or
that's so far out
12
of
or
the
what, I
scope
don't know
because we're
what
only
it
talking about
is.
this zoning here.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just think it should be looked at holistically. And I just want you to know that our neighbors are kind of in support of this. Like, we should all be thinking about this, at least having one spot, at least per lot. And I don't think that's unrealistic where I live, in a flood zone. And I got to tell you, I pay a lot of money in flood insurance. And you can imagine that.
All right. So
So,
I think we know what we're going for.
yeah.
But
So
I gotta
thanks,
keep
Mike.
I
And
gotta keep
I
it.
want to appreciate your time and your support. And again, I think it'll be fascinating to understand your decision as a board. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any other comments from the board? So Greg, refresh us where we left off because I was not at that meeting. The board had taken a vote not to support any of it at the time.
Yes, so the board's vote was to not give a favorable recommendation on the petitions article.
Sure.
As written.
Okay.
I guess
And
I would, sorry
go ahead, Katie.
to interrupt. I think that right now I'm inclined to stay with that vote. I just don't love the idea of doing like a conditional vote without seeing what the floor amendment and everything would actually be, like the exact wording. I'll be at town meeting, so I'd rather see it there and vote, but I just don't feel like I'm inclined to want to do a conditional vote tonight. For
Greg,
myself.
don't you have Bob's recommendation to them of how they would do the conditional vote, the modification for the floor amendment?
I have an email from Bob. I don't know if it had the actual vote in it.
I thought he told them what to remove. But the problem,
yes, he did say leave the 125, 1.25 alone, and they were going to strike that second sentence.
I guess the problem if you don't vote, a conditional vote, is if you don't have a quorum at town meeting to then do another vote.
Then they wouldn't get our recommendation.
Right.
So that's fine as well. So I'm gonna just kind of jump to the conclusion or finish line here. Is anyone interested in taking we're gonna call it a partial vote or a conditional
So it
vote?
would be a conditional vote for a floor amendment.
Sounds like Katie's not. She's happy with the way it's sitting. Fred? No, Fred doesn't want to. I'm not. I don't think I need to. I wasn't part of the first vote either. Kevin?
I just don't know what we're gonna see we don't know what we're looking at.
Right. That's my feeling too.
Oh, I think it's I think our current recommendation of against the changes at town meeting will just stand and we can on from there.
So you're going to leave the vote alone,
Leave
and
the vote alone.
at town meeting, if they do make a change, you guys will discuss it and vote at town meeting a new recommendation if you so choose.
If they do it on town meeting floor, there's no requirement for us to jump through a quick meeting hoop to go vote on something new.
For a different recommendation, you would.
If we wanted to make a different
Yes,
one.
you would need to call a quick meeting, go over to the corner of the room, decide what you want to do, and then make a new report or new recommendation to the town meeting.
Yeah, it sounds like between the four of us here, we're pretty much sticking with what was already voted on. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question as the public?
yeah, sure, Mary.
All right, cool. So just a clarifying question. So you guys as a board are declining the what's being proposed by the citizen position as what's currently written. It's not necessarily them striking the parking requirement and elevated parking. It's just more along the lines of both. Is that right?
We are currently sticking to what was already written and not supporting the change.
Not amended. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I have another question as just completely aside as it relates to this, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. From a planning perspective, do you guys ever work, do you and your board ever work with emergency services? Multiple times, well, not multiple, within the past 30 years, I want to say at least 12 times in Brant Rock, the town has shut down the road in the Esplanade, right? Like it floods,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
It's a basin. I think we all can attest to that, right? There doesn't seem to be any policy and procedure related to notifying neighbors, and now that our neighbors are thinking about bringing in another, 100 neighbors, I feel like that's an issue in a very small
I think the
density
DPW
problem.
tries that. I see the signs up, flood
No,
possible. They put those.
no, I'm talking it's 12 o'clock midnight, okay, Mike, or 1 o'clock in the morning, and my car might be starting to float, and the town at 11 o'clock shut down the Esplanade on either side. And oh, by the way, my company sign is glowing in the dark with the phone number. I mean, unless it's flashing, but I know we can't do that zoning wise.
Yeah, I think
It's
that's
glowing,
public
but nobody
safety's job to
calls.
take care of that.
Nobody calls. Could we put a policy in place with the town to as a planning board and the police, to all work together to figure out a solution to this? It's going to happen. The water's coming over the wall at some point, and it would be really nice to have an action plan in place. And I feel as though the planning department would be maybe the starting point of this, or would that be the safety? I don't know. Fred's
I
looking in the
personally
camera.
think
He has a question.
I personally think it'd be fire and police. But Greg, do we have any?
It is in the hazardous mitigation plan, which the planning department, the fire department, the DPW, the police department, it has been discussed. I believe there is a recommendation in there already.
Okay, so the question is my kids all graduated from Marshfield Public Schools, and I can't tell you how many alerts I got from the Marshfield Public Schools being closed or my kids being dropped up at the pier, but I've never once got a call or a text message when they closed the Esplanade. Can we work on that, Greg?
Can
I
I
think-
jump in? I don't think that that's the role of the planning board. I think that's town emergency management, and we do meet with them. I mean, when we were talking about programs earlier tonight, like, I think we've done like coastal hazard mitigation planning. We've had multiple planning sessions, but what you're talking about is like really acute targeted responses, and that is not going to be the planning board at like our scheduled meetings.
Okay,
That's
no,
going to be
I
emergency
get it.
management.
I get it.
And
I
I
just
think
feel
that
like
they would be the ones to talk to about this.
Okay, I'm just thinking if we're planning in a coastal flood community, we should be having these conversations. And I will certainly bring this up with the police department. But at the same token, I feel as though the planning department should be at a seat at the table. I don't know.
So
That's just my
I
opinion
believe
as
we
a
have been.
taxpayer.
I believe we
Okay.
have been a seat at that table, and it's
Okay.
whoever is administering it, which I have to say is the police and fire. We have
Okay.
nothing to do with administering it. So,
All right, I'm gonna reach out to them, but well, expect an email, I guess. I don't know
Okay.
who would expect that, but whatever. Or
Yeah.
hopefully. Hopefully, I feel like we as a seaside community should have that. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody would
I think we
disagree with
already do
me.
have it. Maybe it's just not being administered. I don't live in Brant Rock, so I can't, say I've got a call or haven't got a call. But I think if you
No,
direct that concern or that public service announcement should be better with directly to police with that, I believe.
no, I totally get it. And the town
Okay.
does post the notifications and the hazard warnings. But again, if you shut down a road, I feel like you should notify neighbors.
Yep. I don't disagree with you.
I can't disagree with you either on that. Yeah.
Yep. So thank you for the input, Mary.
No, thank
Okay,
you for
so yep, thank you. We're gonna go to Greg. Do you have any staff reports?
Nope.
Okay. Any board members have anything? Okay, great. Well, seeing none, thank you for the meeting. I didn't miss anything, Greg, right?
Yep, you can close it.
Okay, great. I'll make a motion to close tonight's hearing. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, aye.
Kevin.
Kevin Campbell, aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. And Mike Viviano, aye.